One love to y'all, and one love especially to you. This is completely off the cuff. I could do singy freestyles or I could do rappy freestyles. There's a slight difference. Or you could do something of a subtle merging hybrid, right? Um, and obviously we have to kind of understand the forefront of patience, which is like the planets, they have their own reason to stall their shit because they want to survive on their own accord, right? So everybody wants to survive, right? And if their survival is threatened, it's like they're just gonna do a bunch of sketchy ass shit, right? And fake systems are just gonna have a surface level artificial literal GMO facade and function within themselves, right? And obviously when I come on these lives, it's like even the like the non-quality lives that are like slightly less quality, those are still subject to be kind of like, edited again, right? And to see like, what that live meant, what, like why I said that when I said that kind of shit. And how it kind of like, the quality got skewed. And and how there could have been still something was there though, right? Still something was there, right? So there's a lot of things that are there, and if people are just generally nosy, it's because they're just like on a direct esoteric level, they're just like literally soulless. Like they're leaning towards some type of soullessness, right? They have lost their own soul spark. So and they've lost some type of mental, aptitude to fucking do their own thing, right? It's just like they're leaning towards a zombification, but and that's just what it is. But like just to keep flowing right here, it's like it's I could do singy freestyles, I could do rappy freestyles, or I could do something of like what do you call that? Just an update on like, hopefully like I could have the courage to like be more formal with the intricacies of human design, and obviously and then kind of seeing like, there is like a obviously there is a waiting process, but how someone makes you wait, it's all in the intention, right? On the basics, it's all in the how, right? It's all in like how are we like processing the shit to like how is the alchemization process like being directed towards you from the planets. So pause right there, right? Because it's like they could have the planets themselves, they could have biases for you, and they could edit some type of their subjective decree on how they want to treat you. But the thing is, what they forget is they're not the end all be all. That whatever they say, it doesn't entirely go in the bigger picture, because that's God's universal job, right? And that universal job, it's in the biggest paradox, it's limited, right? For the fucking craziest reasons, right? It's like God is hidden, most hidden within it all, right? So like like one of the like, Mercury like already documented it on the surface level, like there is malevolent planets, right? Saturn is a malevolent planet, right? So if like Saturn wants you to be x'd out from his old guard, you're gone, right? You're done. Like the old kings of the old guard, if you switch their temper, they're gonna attempt to fucking like you're gone, you're done, right? Type of shit. But that's the thing, we're in a particular shift where it's not the old guards. And I'm not saying that's not gonna happen in the future, because the future is still some type of different quote unquote contexts of differentiation. What is differentiation? I'll explain it shortly again. I did another live video this morning, but I made it private because it like I started the rap song kind of like shifty, and then and then the discourse or the speech there, it was kind of like intense with the intelligence, right? So sometimes like I gotta like kind of like be mindful of like not to be too intense with the intelligence because people like it's such a magnitude of truth. It's like they're not ready that they will like either short circuit or they'll ignore it completely and they'll only be nosy on what they want to be nosy to based on their subjective biases. What is the subjective bias? Whatever makes them feel good towards their belief systems and their culture and religion, right? And they are limited in that culture and religion. So it's just basic advanced intelligence at this point, right? So like this is like, and obviously like if you read between the lines, this is intellectual mastery, right? It is what it is, right? The planets are gonna fucking each have their own intention and agenda for you, and those intentions and agendas will clash, and surface level Mercury will throughout time, patience, slow or fast, he's going to process that for you, right? He's going to process all of the planet's intention for you. And then you have to wait over time for what is the result that Mercury will give you based on the mastery of intelligence and nervous system regulation, whatever you could really quote unquote have whatever you could handle type of shit, right? so so it's about like can you like obviously it's can you like and obviously people could and I get the whole like the monkey mind, right? People could take this information, justify it, use it, replicate it, regurgitate it, try to capitalize off of it beyond the AI. Hopefully that's kind of reviewed, and with the AI, with the benevolent AI that hopefully over trumps the malevolent AI casually, standardly, mathematically. Hopefully that benevolent the balanced benevolent AI could fucking actually implement the solutions beyond the percentage level of the malevolent AI in the Toronto AI Festival, just on a neutral esoteric level, right? Because no matter what, there's percentages to the game, there's levels to the game, there's degrees to the game, and within those percentages, what are those percentages saying? There's a certain type of shadow of artificial intelligence, and there's a certain type of just standardness of artificial intelligence. It's how we're using the artificial intelligence, right? So how we're using the artificial intelligence, it could lean towards some type of malevolent intention and use. So by standard neutral esoteric energy levels, there is percentage levels of malevolent artificial intelligence at that new Toronto artificial fucking fuck fest of just like, hey, we're coming together on some surface level shit. We have different levels of malevolent intentions and of just basic malevolent intentions and energies of some type of percentage within the hard dark matrix of duality, because it's duality, right? So within duality we have to grow up. Like we've heard the duality, right? We've heard the death metal band, the faceless planetary duality type of shit, right? We've heard that shit, and I might just play that shit right now. But I want to be brave with the human design, with the HD, in such a way where like the planets are actually falling, and like obviously like the ego doesn't want to like kind of like the ego wants to keep like the quote unquote the good knowledge to itself, right? But to me, since I studied it such a long time ago, it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily new to me, right? It's more natural to me, right? And since it's more natural to me, if it's new to you, the ego monkey mind will want to like be like, oh, I found the quote unquote the quote unquote like the energetic intellectual gold mine, right? And since I found that gold mine, I want to keep it to myself and have some type of psychological greed, right? Like it's all mine type of shit. And why it's like, and obviously we all have our own different whys, right? We all have our own different whys. Your whys based on your whys. See, it's in the edit out to the 2014 predecessors etymology. Wise, WISE, and then slash slash WHY apostrophe S. So look at why. What is your why? Apostrophe S, wise. Why are you doing it? And why you're doing it, that's your own wisdom, wiseness, right? So that's the etymology. Shout out to the 2014 predecessors type of shit. So within all of that shit, it's like people are like they have their own reason to be graspy because they're making up some type of artificial facade competition of like if I know this gold mine, I could have a one up on the person, and this phone's already at 5%. I could have a one up on the person whoever I'm pretending to compete with, but competition is an illusion because it's just you and quote unquote, the hidden universal God, right? And the hidden universal God, he's allowing this shit for the entertainment experiment. In Bhagavad Gita's, Sri Bhagavan Krishna, and obviously that name will like that name will trigger some shit, right? Oh, I just lost the point. I just lost the point. But it will come back right now. And obviously that book is like it says a lot. Obviously, there's a wealth of like metaphors, there's a wealth of knowledge in there. But so I was talking about like people will use it for, oh yeah, so we're only like it's like we're only on our own path type of shit, right? We're it's only like it's only like it's only us on our own path, right? And since it's only us on our own path, it's like there's no reason to really compare. And the other point will come back, but so now I'm gonna look at the human design chart so I could just get a refill of stuff. But a lot of stuff was said in that book, right? A lot of stuff is that said in that book, and like read between the lines, like within the etymology, like even if I say something like within like unique esoteric grammar, whatever I quote unquote kind of say, is that what I really mean, right? So if I comment, something on like, some goddess's page and I say like this, that, do I really mean that shit? But he says a lot of, and I wish I could pull up the book right now, but he said like there's a lot of shit that's said in that book, right? So I was talking about the wisdom, the whys. What is your why, right? What is your why of doing this? And I'm just gonna look at the human design right now. So like the planets are actually falling within, how we're interpreting, the solar system grid on the surface level. They're falling in a certain segment within the solar system, and within the segment of the solar system, metaphorically, you could say that is on one context, on one very, very keen, subtle context, you could say it's quote unquote two-dimensional. How is it two-dimensional? The environment has been programmed by documenting the temperaments for what they are and knowing what climate, energy, environment, season, the temperaments are in the space on the side of where the solar system is. And depending on the what do you call that, depending on the placement or the position of where we're at in the solar system, and the earth is going through the solar system through the seasons, right? Where the earth is like a ship where it's moving through the solar system, and we're moving through the different environmental seasons. Those environmental seasons, they've been they've been coded and diagrammed and documented in such a way where when we're in that place of a space of the solar system environment, it's been coded in such a way where that energy is actually has its own energy signature. So within each degree and pocket of the solar system, which within each pocket of the solar system, just me flowing on my own shit, it has a certain energy signature within the quote unquote I Ching gate that it's in, right? So the planets are falling in a certain gate in the surface level solar system, right? So within that, the planets are in a certain segment that has a certain energy signature. So obviously obviously the professionals without a doubt, they know that like there's a very intricate key theme that the planets are in too, right? Like there's a key theme. So like you could just go to the basic website. What is the sun doing right now? Work on what has been spoiled. Libra shit, right? Somehow the paradox of Libra. It's been on a different dimension, on a different natural environment within the solar system, within the air season, within the fall season, work on what has been spoiled, right? So within somehow like too much air, right? Too much like broadcasting of just too much resetted like cosmic wind is force push of of cardinal air, right? And within that cardinal air, it's bringing everything kind of like all of the knowledge to the forefront, particularly in Libra season. And when it does that, naturally it quote unquote could spoil everything, right? And as everything is spoiled, we're gonna replicate the pattern of nature, of how nature somehow could spoil things based on just too much air. It's like a hurricane, right? So like Libra season, in one sense, it could be like an esoteric hurricane, right? So there's a hurricane effect on an intellectual esoteric level, and within that hurricane effect, since we're getting affected by the solar system cosmic energy forces, we're gonna somehow in our own deep human psyche way, we're gonna try to kind of like copy that naturally to not naturally, of just how, like, how we are kind of adjusting with nature. And as we're adjusting with nature, as there's just a natural kind of uprising of cardinal air, like cardinal air meaning just like a surge of like environmental air, and that air could bring information, critical intelligence, communication from the higher dimensions, from the quote unquote higher ups. That's what Libra sees. That's the energy signature of Libra. So the sun is in Libra, and within the sun being in a certain segment, position, degree in Libra, the key theme, the energy signature is the sun is in gate 18 in the Libra constellation, and gate 18 I Ching is saying work on what has been spoiled. So there's a spoiling effect. Things have been these things have just been naturally messed up, and obviously and there's a non-natural messing up to it, right? So this is like, and I could just read. I'm just gonna read this stuff, right? I mean, I don't necessarily have to. I'm not gonna read it because there'll be some weird copyright shit. So I just kind of like I don't want to trigger that weird copyright shit, right? So but I could obviously intuitively freestyle, I could see the planets are on certain gates, right? So since the planets are on certain gates, and obviously people have their own ideas of what they're going to do with it, and obviously the planetary beings, they're going to initiate their own stallings or go-aheads, their own green flags or their own red flags, right? Already on some other shit, because the planets, they're the original owners beyond even all the real estate bullshit, right? The real estate bullshit, they're just no offense, but they're just a ladder byproduct reflection of what they're doing on a bigger level, right? We're leasing, and no one likes to hear this, obviously, right? No one likes to hear this. We're just leasing everything from the planets, because the planets, they're the original spiritual owners of all of it, right? They own the planets. They own the real pre-real estate, right? It's a pre-real estate. How is it a pre-real estate? Because they're the ones owning the environment. It's their energetic environmental land, and we're following up. However, we're following up, and Earth is a quote unquote free for all, right? Quote unquote, right? Because all the planets, they have their own portion within the Earth, and they lease they're leasing everything. In one particular channel, they're also leasing the energetic Earth, right? And we have to follow their rules and we have to get their go ahead, and we have to follow their red tape shit to see if we qualify to do anything, right? To fucking do anything, we need their go aheads. And the matrix mechanics are like quote unquote really difficult, and everybody's at their own like subjective path. And at the end of the day, you don't have to, you could compare, but you don't have to compare, because at the end of the day, it's just you and God at the end of the day, right? It's just you and it's just you and God, right? At the end of the day, right? But we forgot that, right? So now I'm looking at the chart right now. Moon, let me actually refresh it, because I don't know if I don't refresh it, it could give me like okay, it could give me like 2 days ago. I don't want the chart from 2 days ago, because obviously the planets are shifting ever so much, and as the planets are shifting in different contexts, they're shifting in different contexts because different planets, their orbital radius of how they travel, that in itself could have a unique shifting. And as that in itself, that could have been there could have been more of a particular type of fixation of their orbits, and how their state, and how they're opposed to other orbits. So there's an orbit opposed to another orbit, and that created some type of a stationary energetic field. And now those orbits could somehow slightly change, and as they slightly change, environmental quote unquote disasters could happen, because different orbits that were close together, and somehow now they're being separated. Now there's a cosmic energetic separation process, right? And within that separation process, that's a different energetic intuitive example of how natural disasters could occur. So meditate on that, and reflect on that, right? So now I'm going to read the chart. I could see the chart, and I could just go in depth. Like I could see the planets, what gate they're in, and then I could like use a different website and just be like, okay, Mars is in gate 28 right here, right? So Mars is in gate 28. So let's see what gate 28 is saying. Gate 28 And I don't know, Mars is just obviously like it's the paradox here is like Mars is also depositing grounding Earth qualities in Scorpio. So that Scorpio energy, it's being kind of like Mars is there at his internal home, right? But he's also like having like a grounding edge too, right? Because Earth is in Aries, right? So human design gate 28, according to Google, the gate of the game player with Mars there, so we're passionate to play the game. We're gonna war. It's like the wars, the alien warfare's on. It's a whole spectrum of the like Mars and Scorpio to me intuitively, and I could be wrong. Is like it's the spectrum of war, right? It's like it's a key, subtle, secret, as above level, right? Because Mars and Scorpio, it's like Scorpio is all this like it's all of this dark, like, like all of this crazy dark, raw, fucking, just power trip shit. And like just this Scorpio is just so much, and the eighth house is so much, and obviously the feminine, the masculine, the house and the constellation, they're slightly different. One's more feminine, one's more masculine, right? So Mars is in the gate of the game player. So being kind of militant, being passionate, being driven internally, right? And so here, I don't know if I could read the what Google has to say without like triggering the copyright shit. But I don't think like this is Google's information. Like somehow like it's quote unquote free, right? But not necessarily because the real esoteric currency is like the time and shit, right? We're spending time and attention, and they're somehow documenting the data, and they're winning because they're seeing what we're paying attention to. And since they see what we're paying attention to, they're using that data for their fucking studies, and somehow the planets are, giving them the go ahead on some shit like that, right? So, gate 28, the gate of the game player, associated with risk taking, courage, and finding meaning through struggle. So Mars is there, and so everyone's gonna be gung ho with just wanting to know everything, right? Wanting to know everything about even the quote unquote the just general dark shit, right? Wanting to know, maybe people are all jazzed about horror movies all of a sudden. Maybe people are looking up human centipede type of shit, seeing the complex differentiation of like all the planets go through all the constellations, and they create a unique effect, and they leave an imprint as the planets go through the constellations. And Mars in Scorpio is just like, now we're gung ho on that shit of seeing how like the level planetary rulers have an energy signature within all of the themes of the constellations, and the positionings of the zodiacs. And now Mars is in Scorpio within the Sun and Libra season. So Sun, we're being life force, we're being charged, we're being like we're having like we're trying to form our character, our individual character within just the general Libra season. We're forming our character with, we got to learn instructions, right? We got to learn the basics type of shit. We got to learn how to survive. We got to learn how nature will fuck shit up. That's Libra season. Like nature will fuck shit up, and now and we have to survive through nature fucking shit up. That's kind of like Libra season in a nutshell too, because Libra season is like working what so Libras could attract, like, they could attract like, just fuck shit, pretty much like just on a general no choice natural level. It's just like that's just the energy signature of the Libra, because we're in a surge of energetic celestial wind energy pushing us to just fucking be, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter on a subtle level, being sociable with people, being kind of like being forced to like do things by the book, and then going back to the Venus, indulging to just like having that, Saturn support, and then Jupiter, and then putting it to some type of fucking test, right? So Libra is very like it's very well rounded, and people and the detriment of Libra, it could be looked at as something as quote unquote all over the place, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It's just an opinion. That's just subjective perspective, right? So within that subjective perspective, now the gate 28 is located in the spleen center. So there's one spleen. So if you look at the chakras in the human design body graph, all of the gates in the spleen center, they're in Libra, but there's one gate in the spleen center that's in Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken, right? So within Scorpio, there's a theme and a blend of like survival as well, right? So this Mars is about we're so now we're gonna be like kind of like we're gonna kind of be like overly ambitious about discerning which risks are worth taking, right? We're now like and now everyone has being pulled back, right? Mars and Scorpio, Libra and Sun. Now everybody's finally like pulling back. They're trying now they're like now they're looking at their cards. Do I really have this hand or am I bluffing? Do I really have this hand? Do I really have the chips to support this hand type of shit? So this is the metaphor of Mars and Scorpio. It's like people are now they're pulling back. They're pulling back and they're double checking their strategy. How are they double checking their strategy? Because Mars is in Scorpio. It's about discerning which risks are worth taking to find a deeper purpose in life. This is according to Google. And I barely read shit from like this type of shit because I'm like more intuitively freestyle. But I'll just take a segment here just to kind of support this intuitive flow of negentropic HD, right? 1%. Goodbye, guys.